This is NR2003 Predicts. Using constantly updating ratings, we determine where Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series drivers will place at any given track any given week. Standard disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only, using the process of artificial intelligence, and should not be used in the process of gambling. So here's how it works. We update drivers' ratings week by week as we go throughout the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series schedule. We run a 100% simulation with normal tire wear and fuel consumption. Qualifying results match what the drivers actually ran in real life. Because qualifying data can't be arranged at the same time as forcing cautions, stages will not be enforced throughout these races. And weather used reflects the real-time data based on the actual start time of the race. Night is falling on the longest race of the year to cap off a day of motorsports. Green flag flying for the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte. William Byron, Eric Almirola side by side still, but here comes Kevin Harvick on the inside, trying to take the lead on the first lap, and it looks like he's going to have it stuck to the bottom lane and going to be able to lead lap number 1 of 400 as William Byron continues to slot into the middle lane. All-Star winner Kyle Larson, he's starting a little bit further back in the field. He started 25th today. He's trying to make his way up on the inside line. As you can see, Ryan Newman and Eric Jones fading a little bit. On the outside line, he got Denny Hamlin in front of Larson. Brad Keselowski also having a pretty poor starting spot, and he's behind Larson. And obviously Keselowski the winner at Kansas. That was his 3rd win of the season, and now going to try to see if he can make it 4, but he's going to have some traffic to deal with if he wants to get up there and contend for that. Now we've got Kurt Busch side by side with Kevin Harvick. Kurt Busch still looking for that first win of the season. Currently 8th in the points, but Chip Ganassi Racing making a little bit of improvements, especially with Kurt Busch behind the wheel. He's been the most consistent driver for the team this season. Even Kyle Larson has the exhibition win. And it looks like the one car is going to be able to make the pass on Harvick to get to the lead. Kyle Busch, the winner of this race last year, and obviously the last time we were at Charlotte was the Roval. But the last time we had a race on the oval, that was the Coca-Cola 600 of 2018, and Busch was the winner. Currently runs in the 6th spot. He's on the outside line trying to compete with a few guys, including his teammate Denny Hamlin. Here's a guy that has a lot of momentum going his way, Alex Bowman. 3 second-place finishes in a row. He's obviously wanting to break through for his first career Cup victory. Trying to work a little bit further back in the field. He's up into the 8th position. Meanwhile, for pole sitter William Byron, he's slipped back a ton. He is no longer in the lead pack and still trailing and drafting, but really not as much speed as he had at the initial start or in qualifying. We've got another Busch battle out in front. You remember this from Bristol. Now we go to a 1.5 mile track, and they're running side by side for the lead, even though it's very early in the race. Clearly this isn't going to last the entire race, but eventually someone's going to have to take the advantage, and it might be Kyle Busch on the inside line. Even though we've seen both lanes work before, but it looks like this time the 18 is going to be able to use that inside to clear the one car. Martin Truex Jr. has the most success on this track in the short term. He still ranks in the top 10 among drivers, active drivers on average finish, but in the past 3 races, he is averaging a 2nd place run, one of them being his win back in 2017. He is still trying to work his way into the top 10 though. Meanwhile, back up at the front, looks like Kyle Busch is getting held up by Quinn Houff in the 77, and Kurt Busch is going to take advantage of that on the inside line and head back up to the lead. Brad Keselowski going to also take advantage of the 18s getting held up, and he is headed to 2nd place. Daniel Suarez has the best average finish among active drivers here, and that's a pretty small sample size, 3 races in total, 10.67, 1 race inside the top 10, looking for a good performance today. But we'd have some trouble in turn 3. Eric Jones a little bit further back than he wants to be. He gets in the contact with Bubba Wallace, and the 20 car goes for a spin into the wall, and there's pretty significant damage to that race car. Not enough to drop him out, though. However, it will affect his performance greatly. Kyle Busch going to lead the field off of pit stops. Meanwhile, Kurt Busch is falling back to 4th place. Meanwhile, it's turned into a 3-wide battle for the lead. Jimmy Johnson sending it right up the middle, and he's got the greatest line in that turn. Johnson, an 8-time winner at this racetrack, the greatest among active drivers, and he is really showing that speed here today, looking for a 9th victory at Charlotte. Ryan Newman, along with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Rouse Fenway Racing, a lot further back than they'd like to be. This is typically not a great racetrack for Ryan Newman or Ricky Stenhouse Jr. They're pretty equal to each other on average finish, and they are running below average to themselves. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin making an inside move on Brad Keselowski. He's the best average driver among the veterans. Comes in at a 12.08 average finish in his 26 races here. A driver having a great day today. He had a great day at the All-Star as well, Bubba Wallace. They're still outside the top 10, but honestly, the way this season's been going for the 43 car, it's a great day for Wallace, the way things are going right now, and the way it did at the All-Star race with a 5th place finish. Austin Dillon trying to make his way to the inside of Kevin Harvick. Harvick could obviously use a little bit more speed to get his first victory of the season, but for Austin Dillon, he's going to be pretty satisfied with a top 10 going on a top 5 run at the moment, even though we are still under 100 laps into this race. A long way to go in this one. Denny Hamlin has pulled away from the rest of the pack along with the 3 cars in front of him. Chase Elliott, one of those drivers that are in that pack, which includes Austin Dillon and Joey Logano now at the front. Elliott looked like he had a possibility at winning that race at Kansas along with Alex Bowman, and never worked out for either of them. Contact between Kyle Busch and the lapped car of Reed Sorensen in turn number 1. That's going to send both of them into the wall. And that's probably going to damage the 27 more than it does the 18, but I got to believe there's going to be some problems for the 18 car. As you can see, he's fallen back into this other pack with Austin Dillon and Joey Logano making the move for 5th place. That is a big mistake on either one of those guys' part. I imagine Reed Sorensen came down on Kyle Busch's line. Eric Jones, he's still out there running, but he just got lapped. Joe Gibbs Racing not having a great day right now, considering what's facing them. Denny Hamlin's really having the best day for them in 3rd place. Paul Menard's having a really good run in the top 10, considering he is along that cutoff line for the playoffs. Still quite underneath the cutoff line in 20th place, but he's still working at it. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Denny Hamlin and Jimmy Johnson battling for the lead. The 11 car is going to lead the lap at the line. They're still battling side by side. And Johnson making the run on the outside, and he is not going to give it up that easily, even if he doesn't lead the lap. That just shows that both these lanes can work depending on how you use them. Keselowski is going to try to make that inside line work, and it is going to work a little longer than it did for Hamlin. But how about this move? Running that outside line, you got BJ McLeod in that line in front of him, but they're going to use a draft and a good run to get to the outside of Keselowski and DiBenedetto, about to go a lap down, and Keselowski trying to squeeze his way past the 95 to get back to Johnson, but it looks like the 48 is going to take advantage here. What a great run here, just eclipsing 100 laps in the race. Here's a race per position that you don't really want to be in, just where you are. Ryan Newman, he's making a little bit of gains, but meanwhile, Eric Almirola and Alex Bowman, based on the way they've been running as of late, they are not having good days as they are well outside the top 10. And Denny Hamlin has lost the draft at the front too. That's Johnson and Keselowski. I'm trying to work his way around lap traffic, and we're going to see Kyle Busch come down the pit lane a little bit earlier than the rest of the field on the pit window, and I've got to believe that the damage is having a little bit of an effect on that. And as far as we've been seeing, and Busch has been running okay, but he is obviously going to have to repair that. Johnson comes down a little later than Keselowski, and that is going to allow the 2 car to take advantage of a little bit more short pit. It wasn't a great short pit, it was just at the inside of the window, but obviously those fresh tires working out, as now Jimmy Johnson tries to battle Clint Bowyer, who took an even shorter pit, and he has really utilized those fresh tires to get up to the 3rd position, now going to be 4th as long as Johnson gets by him. A battle at the lead once again, and Denny Hamlin really taking that race car up toward the front and going to get, at least at the moment, around the 2 car of Brad Keselowski, as long as he can stick it in the corner, and he does. This is the 11 car back up to the front. William Byron, we look back at him, and he is still underperforming, at least to the standards that he was at, winning that pole for the Coca-Cola 600 and still trying to work his way up. So is Kyle Larson, but running just in front of him, Bubba Wallace. He's still having a very solid run going for him by the team standards. Looking very similar to what they did in the All-Star race. Alex Bowman, though, he is just about to get lapped along with Eric Almirola. Martin Truex Jr. is already in that position as well. And this is a lot of good guys getting ready to get lapped because they have no caution to go off of. And Chase Elliott going to blow a motor going down the backstretch. That is a very bad break for one of the most popular drivers in NASCAR. No one else has had a mechanical issue so far today, and he is going to end up in last place. Kyle Busch here trying to hold off Joey Logano for the 5th position. I tell you what, the 18 car is still in contention despite that contact he made with Reed Sorensen that looked pretty severe. He's still doing all right, still running out there in the top 10. We have got a debris caution as the pace car will come out and recap the field. Some cars are going a lap down at this point, and you can see there's some pretty good names in there, and that includes Alex Bowman and Martin Truex Jr. Denny Hamlin going to be the leader off of pit stops. Brad Keselowski behind him, and so is Paul Menard, who's having a great run today. Jimmy Johnson, he is trying to work his way up again, and he fell back a little bit. He's back to 7th place, trying to get to the inside of Joey Logano and Kyle Busch. You got Kurt Busch on the outside now and trying to make a move as lap traffic still on the inside. Martin Truex Jr. is going to have to get his lap back. The 2017 winner of this race is not doing so dominant today as he is in an unfamiliar situation trying to get around his teammate and be able to contend for a victory. However, he might have a little bit of a difficult time doing that as there's a lot of competitive guys working their way around here as Clint Bowyer and Kyle Busch are going to draft their way to the inside of Denny Hamlin, at least for the time being. Hamlin holding strong on that outside line, but not going to be able to hold it. How about Ryan Newman? Where did he come from? We saw him back in the 20s earlier in this race, and now he is up to 6th position. Newman having a great run going for him suddenly, and it looks like whatever they were struggling with earlier, they made the adjustments that they needed. As Clint Bowyer has taken a sizable lead. Martin Truex Jr. and Alex Bowman both trying to get around the leader to get their lap back. Alex Bowman obviously trying to keep that momentum up. It's not going amazingly right now, while Hamlin is still trying to work his way to the inside of Bowyer to get back to the lead. Take back the position that he lost, and unfortunately in that turn, Bowyer was able to utilize that outside line. And here comes Newman, and this is just a storyline you couldn't write up. How about the story that these two guys had at the All-Star race at the end, and they are running 1 and 2, and Newman already going for an inside look at Bowyer. You want to say that it's not over and there might be a little bit of contact, but at the same time, you're only halfway through this race. Not the greatest time to tear up your equipment and cost yourself a victory. Contact here in turn number 3 between Daniel Suarez and Austin Dillon. Looks like the 12 of Ryan Blaney's going to bottom out on the apron, trying to avoid it. No caution, though, just some contact. Newman once again trying to take a peek to the inside of Bowyer. Wasn't able to get it done the first time, as the 14 stays strong on the outside line. This time he's a little bit fading back, but still there. They're side by side. This is a great battle for the lead between the 14 and the 6. And they're still side by side, but it looks like the 14's not going to be able to take it. Looking a little bit further back, we've got Kyle Larson up here, the All-Star winner. He's recovered from his poor starting position, and he is now battling Kyle Busch for the 6th spot. A little bit farther behind the next 4 cars up. We're getting a little bit of a gap here. That's, I believe, the back of Ryan Newman looking toward Denny Hamlin and Pack. As they are, the front 3 are really gaining a sizable lead. That's Denny Hamlin right there, and he's in the 4th position, leading that next pack after the front 3. But meanwhile, it's Clint Bowyer that's checking out from the next 2 guys. Having a great run himself. Daniel Suarez is going to be the first one to come down the pit lane, and obviously with that contact he made in turn 3, it might be understandable. Clint Bowyer going to pit from the lead just around lap number 225. And Denny Hamlin's going to stay out the longest, 4 laps later. We'll see how the strategy works out in their favors when they cycle through, and it's going to be Clint Boyer once again in an even more sizable gap. Denny Hamlin did not do well, but Kyle Busch is still on pit lane. There is something wrong with that race car, and they have kept it on pit lane trying to repair it. Not sure what the issue is there, and there's Denny Hamlin. We mentioned that he had a poor pit stop, and he is back to 8th place and not in the position to make anything up at the moment. You got Kevin Harvick up here, though. He is trying to run down Ryan Newman for the 2nd spot, and the gap is closing on Clint Boyer, surprisingly, after the 14 had a great run going for him. Chip Ganassi Racing Cars, they have fallen to the tail end of the top 10, running side by side, and they are well out of the speed that they had at the beginning of the race. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson has caught back up to Clint Boyer now, and they are going to race it for the lead, side by side, going down the backstretch. 14 had an amazing lead a few moments ago, and now he is about to lose it. And now Jimmy Johnson makes his way to the front, and it looks like the damage isn't done for the 14 cars. He's got his teammate Kevin Harvick charging him down for position. He's going to hold him off momentarily, but he's going to get him around him eventually. So is the 22. And you've got some Fords trying to challenge the Chevrolet for the lead. Jimmy Johnson, the winningest driver at this racetrack among active drivers. He is not going to be able to hold off the charge by the Ford car, and Kevin Harvick heading to the lead. Harvick, a 3-time winner at this racetrack himself, but the latest one came in 2014, so it's been quite a while since he's been able to take a victory at the Oval. Kyle Busch is back on the track, but he is several laps down and still not up to speed, and that is a big heartbreak for the 18-car team. Denny Hamlin sucking back up to these front two. Logano and Harvick side by side, but the 4-car had the advantage off of the turn and now going to get in front of the 22 to make sure that he doesn't have the space. And the 21, he's found his way back to third once again. Paul Menard having a great run, and this would be a great thing for his playoff contention as he's going to help his Penske-affiliated teammates, Joey Logano, make the pass on Harvick. 3 Fords up in front, dominating this race as we had 3 Chevrolets or so making a great run earlier on. Manufacturer tide has changed, and Brad Keselowski entering this conversation as well. He temporarily found his way in the 3rd place, but Denny Hamlin continues to be the guy that keeps running well, but he bottomed out in the middle of the turn. Huge momentum loss right there as Hamlin hit the apron and held up a few guys behind him. Meanwhile, William Byron going down a lap for the first time at the hands of Joey Logano. I believe William Byron is within the top 15, so the number of lead lap cars is making a little bit of a turn downward. And Boyer, as well as he was running in the first half of this race, he has really fallen back, and it's not completely at the fault of these lapped cars. He just had a lot of fall off, and whatever they were doing to that race car did not help at all, as he is back in the 8th spot. Jimmy Johnson trying to work his way up back toward the front. He runs 4th with 3 cars right in front of him and William Byron in between. And look, Hamlin's going to make another move for the lead on Logano, and obviously we know it didn't work out too well that last time, but this time he does get the good run in the middle of turn 3 and 4. And it looks like the 11 car will at least lead this lap and possibly clear the 22 heading down into turns 1 and 2. And it looks like he does have that advantage. So Hamlin back to the lead, and he's going to put another few guys a lap down. That's Austin Dillon and Chris Buescher. Buescher having a great run right now, and he's kind of been all over the place. We saw him, I believe, possibly in the top 10, falling back all the way to the 20s, and now back up contending for a top 10, although I don't think he'll be quite in the place to get it. Harvick going to be one of the first to head to pit lane. Denny Hamlin making it a little bit later as usual. We will see how they cycle out this time. And it's going to be Kevin Harvick once again heading back to the lead. And he's got a little bit of a gap between him and 2nd place, which is containing a lot of the Penske-affiliated guys. Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski going to battle with each other for 2nd place. But yeah, it looks like the short pit is really helping out these guys that pit earlier, as the tires are falling off sharply at least 3 seconds slower than they run at the beginning of a run on tires, as Denny Hamlin trying to work his way back up the field. He's in 4th place right now. Kurt Busch trying to get his lap back from his former teammate, Kevin Harvick. Looks like the one might actually have a little bit of damage on the front end. I wonder if that came off pit stops. Kyle Busch coming back on the track after he made his stop a little later, probably from having his own problems, and now he's kind of holding up Joey Logano as Denny Hamlin's going to propel himself back into the runner-up spot. Keselowski going to follow. Paul Menard also a little bit further back there, and the gap is shrinking for Kevin Harvick. He had a 3 or so second gap earlier, and now it's down to about a 1.5 seconds as Hamlin is really reeling him in. Jimmy Johnson's kind of fallen out of the conversation. He was running up there, contending for the lead several times, and he is back in 7th place, more than a dozen seconds behind, and looks like his day is at least going to end in the top 10 as long as he is mistake-free. And the battle for the lead is intensifying. Denny Hamlin right up to the side of Kevin Harvick, trying to see if he can get the good run into turn 3 and 4. Still side by side, but getting a little bit out in front, and he's going to make the pass for the lead. Ryan Newman also in the top 10 range, but not in contention to win this one anymore. He's about 10 seconds back, but he can keep it into a good run. Kevin Harvick trying to take a different lane to Denny Hamlin to catch back up to him, but the 11 car is pulling away as he clearly has the fastest car on the racetrack right now. We still got battles for position back here, and that's Clint Bowyer and Jimmy Johnson battling for the 7th position, which is over 20 seconds back of the leaders. You could probably see them in the background there. But the contention for points never stops as long as you got someone around you to battle with. We're seeing the Penske guys right here clumped all together for 3rd to 5th spots. Keselowski and Menard running side by side as Logano watches on. And here is possibly the final pit stop of the night. Kevin Harvick going to pit early. We've seen the short pit work out in these last few runs, but he's going to make contact with Austin Dillon, who was pitted right in front of him. That is going to damage the side of his race car a little bit. Denny Hamlin comes in, and it's going to get his service. And a bit of a mental mistake there for Harvick. And that is going to allow Hamlin to maintain the lead. Harvick is just behind him, but now Hamlin has a few laps fresher tires. That is a huge break for Denny Hamlin in this one. And while it might have been a bigger impact for Harvick, it was Menard that lost more spots, as his team was pretty slow. Looked like they had a problem of their own. And he's back into 10th position, at least going to contend for a top 10. And this is what Hamlin's seen out of his back mirror. Aric Almirola in between him and the rest of the field, which really, Kevin Harvick is the only one that's even close. Kyle Larson, the All-Star winner, about to go a lap down as well. He'll at least be in the top 10, and the battle is still going on between Bowyer and Johnson. They're still side by side and contending for the 6th position now that Menard has fallen back. However, their battling is going to allow Denny Hamlin to catch back up to them and put them a lap down, as Bowyer, once a leader, had a huge fall off and then just couldn't bring it back, and he is about now a lap down along with Johnson. Still contention for positions. Keselowski catches up to Harvick after there was a big gap between them, and the 2 car going to be able to take 2nd away from Harvick. Meanwhile, it's Hamlin running away from the field in this one, and we mentioned he has the best average finish among the veteran drivers, but he has never won at this racetrack. Plenty of top 5s to his name, but no victories. This is going to be a big break for Hamlin in getting a victory at the place that many NASCAR teams call home, heading through turns 3 and 4 with a gap that's about 6 seconds now over Keselowski. Hamlin and the 11 team going to go to victory lane for the 3rd time this season. Hamlin takes the victory in the Coke 600. Capping off a full day of motorsports coverage, the 11 car is going to be the one that takes the victory in the Coke 600. Let's go ahead and see how they stacked up in the results. Hamlin out in front of Keselowski by 5.5 seconds. Kevin Harvick drops back to 3rd. Logano and Newman make out the rest of the top 5. Quite surprising with all those blue ovals and bow ties out in the top 10 that a Toyota still takes the victory away. Moving back 10 spots, we see William Byron, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, and Martin Truex Jr. just outside of the top 10. Ryan Blaney was really a non-factor all day, and surprising to see him in 15th. And Bubba Wallace, a great relative day for him and his race team, who struggled all season. Back in the 20s, a few surprises today. Guys that had some troubles, Eric Almirola and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Not really sure what they dealt with, but Eric Jones, we saw him crash in the early stages of the race, and he was able to at least pull it back to 28th. And in the very back of the field, Chase Elliott blows his motor. The Premium Motorsport guys also ended up dropping out with mechanical issues, and Kyle Busch ended up powerless on pit lane for multiple laps and ends up 14 laps down on the race. That is it for this edition of NR2003 Predicts. We hope you enjoyed today's day of motorsports and the Coke 600, and we will see you next time.